The White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce and On Location TV19 are proud to present Your Business Matters, dedicated to your business needs. The White Bear Area Chamber is a nonprofit business organization serving as an advocate for the White Bear area and its business community. Now here is the Executive Director of the White Bear Area Chamber and the host of Your Business Matters, Tom Snell.
Welcome to the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce program, Your Business Matters. And today, I'm really pleased that we have as our guest Mr. Paul Roberts, the CEO and founder of HydraMetrics. It's a local company located in the city of Lino Lakes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
up
good,
in Centerville,
good,
actually.
Yeah.
But
and you're the founder of the company. You founded the company, right?
yes, 10 years ago this fall, I founded the HydraMetrics, and it's been a lot of fun.
Great. You know, what made you decide to go and find this company, put it together at the start?
Well, I'd been in energy for most of my career as an engineer, and I'm fascinated with savings and making those kinds of things work for us. And water always fascinated me.
And that's the company. HydraMetrics is a water efficiency company.
Correct.
Okay.
We save water, which is a very important utility. You know, most people look at water as being free, but it has a cost to it, and it's something that we really need. And having a good stewardship approach to our earth has always been important to me. So it's been something that's been very good.
Now, your company, it's located here locally, but you have operations all over the country, don't you? You sell your products, your services all over.
Correct. We have a lot of accounts that take us nationally, and we've worked in many different states, and we've worked in all different types of buildings. We've worked for the federal government in large facilities, you know, as far as military bases. We've worked on large universities. We've worked in large hospitals. We work in schools. We work in multi-residential type properties. We work in senior care and senior living facilities. We work in commercial buildings. We work in industrial buildings. So wherever water is being used, we work in.
Now, it's really important to understand, you know, that White Bear Lake has got some real serious issues when it comes to water conservation, and many of the experts say that the reason that the lake level is down is because we've used too much water out of what's called the Prairie du Chien aquifer. And obviously, business wants to take a lead in trying to make things better, to remedy. And my understanding is that HydraMetrics really focuses on the business community, on businesses more so than residents. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Now, I understand that your company has saved a lot of water. You know, like when they talk about White Bear Lake, they say that the lake level is down maybe 4 billion gallons. I mean, that is a lot of water. And I'm just curious, in the work that your company has done, if we could pick a business in the Twin Cities, we don't have to name a name, but a larger company, can you quantify how much water that you had saved in maybe a particular business?
Sure. You know, if you look at like a local mall, you know, a local mall around here, which we did about 12 years ago, we saved 7.5 million gallons each year. And we've saved that now since 2001, 2002 when we put it in. And, you know, basically this mall has 7 million people that have gone through it. And, you know, each person that goes into a mall, there's a statistic in how much water they use, which is about 1.5 gallons. We were able actually to take the fixtures there and make them more efficient, work better. In fact, the staff there realized that they didn't have to even plunge as much because we were able to get the performance better, yet it was using more or much less water from a flushing and washing of hands. And that's really all we focused on, was just that domestic fixtures.
Just that one part.
Just that one little part. We were able to save 7.5 million
Gallons a year.
which,
That's significant.
right, which had a payback for that facility of somewhere between 2 and 3 months, because we have a monthly bill.
Payback. And what do you mean? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what do you mean by a payback?
Well, the cost,
Exactly.
the cost for us to put in our solution
Right.
into this mall was such that within 2 to 3 months, they were able to regain their money, because
Wow.
instead of paying the utility for that water cost, you know, those water costs for that utility had reduced itself. So 2 or 3 months is pretty good. You know, that's pretty good.
And
Now-
people may not know too that there are suggestions that the cost of water as a utility are now going to go up somewhat significantly because of the studies that are being done statewide about water utilization.
Well, water has been rising a lot higher as a utility than many of the other utilities.
Okay.
And in some areas, we see water costs rising even up to 10%. And we've had some towns where we're doing jobs where all of a sudden the water rate has just doubled
Really?
because of the
Yeah.
the demographics and the water shortages, or perhaps the infrastructure for the city or whatever you know needs improving, and you know that all takes costs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot behind water rates and where they go, and we have water rates ranging, like in San Diego, of $25 a thousand, to where here in Minneapolis it's closer to $8, $9, $10 a thousand
So
gallons.
it's like triple almost what, and that could be a harbinger of things to come. You know, I mean, there's as we use more water and utilize more water out of our aquifer, we could face a significant increase in costs for the use of water resources in the future, I would imagine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we have to remember, we have to have water. We as humans need water to survive.
Right.
And God only created so much water. You cannot create any more, you can't really destroy it. You know,
Yeah.
it's there for our use, but it's a finite use. And you know, we keep using more and more water. Our use over the last decade has increased like 4 times in the United States.
4 times.
Yes, yes. So you know, it's a commodity that we continue to use in bigger and bigger quantities. Yet, from the standpoint of what we have, you know, there's only a certain amount of supply.
And I think that people in Minnesota, particularly, you know, we're the land of 10,000 lakes. You know, we've been really blessed with water as a strong resource for our state. And if we want to continue to have water as a resource, which will become more and more valuable as time goes on, we need to make sure that we have a good system put in place where we can conserve water.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, from a macro perspective in the world, you know, the water shortages are even greater, because we should realize that 2/3 of our world, they don't even have enough water to grow the food for them to eat.
Yeah.
You know, as the United States, we have plenty of water compared to them, yet we still have shortages
Sure.
all over.
Yep.
And we need to use it as good stewards.
Now, your business started approximately 10 years ago.
Correct.
And what has your growth line been? Because you're in an area where there is an obvious need, and has it shown on your bottom line?
Absolutely. You know, we've grown significantly each year. Year over year, we continue to grow. And it's been very good to have that growth.
So how do you keep up with it? I mean, are there strategic business decisions that you have to make about, you know, when you're hiring people or putting people on, that you're going to have to continue that growth pattern to make sure that things are successful? And has your company been immune to things like recessions, for example,
You know, we have been.
or downturns in the economy?
You know, we have been somewhat immune to that. I mean, because as the economy gets worse, people are looking to save money.
Oh, yeah.
And we're able to save money, and many of our products and services have a very low payback. So many times we'll have maybe a 2-year payback, which is a 50% return. So companies are looking for those kinds of things.
You know, another question that I wanted to ask you about is, when I think about water utilization, water efficiency issues, particularly focused on business. If you look at the costs, like some people are getting retrofitted toilets that don't use as much water, for example. That's a pretty significant expense item. So I'm interested to find out, are there things that your company can do that can actually save money so that a business owner doesn't have to go out and purchase lots of expensive equipment that utilizes water potentially in a more efficient way?
That is a good question, because there are a lot of people that are buying product to save water. And we kind of differ in that. We very rarely use product to save water. We're more of an application specific.
Okay.
So we can use, for instance, like for toilet savings, we can use the toilets that you have and save water with them. Basically what we're doing is we're getting that toilet to work right. So we're tuning that toilet to work right. And because water's been free and the way we've used plumbing and stuff, we really haven't optimized the way that has worked, because water's free and people really don't understand how much water's going down through the toilet anyway.
Yes, you get an efficient toilet and you have to flush it 8 or 9 times maybe, whereas you can tune it and you have the advantages of not having to pay the money that you would necessarily pay if you had a new fixture put in.
Well, many times when we walk into a facility and just look at the fixtures, and whether they're new or old, they're usually using more water than they need.
Oh, they do?
So usually we can save between 1/3 and 1/2 of the water usages for that domestic fixture as we go through. So
these are new. These are new fixtures that you're talking about that could actually save money. That people buy new fixtures, they may not be able to get the water savings that they can actually get by going to your company?
Correct. We've retrofitted buildings that have been built just a year or two old, all the way down to buildings that have been, hundreds of years old. And we've worked on all different types of toilets, and we can get all of the toilets to be very efficient, and we usually can cut out excess water use by tuning that. So it's very similar to making sure, like, your car engine runs right, by making sure it's well tuned, so it's using the gas efficient. What we're doing is we're tuning the fixture to make the water work in its most optimum way. And we usually can, trim about 1/2 of what that business is maybe using on their domestic savings. But
50%?
On their domestic stuff, and that's looking at the flushing, the washing, those kinds of things. But we as a company also do non-domestic type things, because we work with companies to do irrigation. We work with companies to do process type things, because we use water in, like, HVAC, so for air conditioning.
What's an HVAC? What is that?
HVAC is heating and air conditioning. So, so when you heat with boilers, or you air condition with water-cooled chillers or whatever, you are using sometimes a lot of water to do that. And those processes can be optimized. But we also have had jobs where we actually are using rainwater and reusing it, or we maybe use some of the gray water, which is water not used in toilets, then to be able to be reused in different things. There's a lot of process things in industrial plants and different areas where you can reuse water through filtering and bring it back. So now you're not taking as much out of the aquifer or much out of the clean water. So we do have those kinds of savings too, which would be non-domestic. But as a company, we've focused on the domestic. We've focused on using the product that's in there. So we're not spending a lot of money on product, but we're applying the right concepts to that product. And
so people can actually they don't have to look at things and say, I'm going to have to buy all of this new equipment. They can look at it and say, let's make what we have more efficient by doing certain things and working with a company like yours or someone.
Absolutely. And right now, because of the Safe Water Act.
What's that?
In 1972, the Congress enacted a Safe Water Act, and that's where that's when the new low-flow toilets came into effect. Where the manufacturers now can only sell the low-flow toilets. Since 1992, when those kind of went into effect, and I know there was between 92 and 96 where some things were grandfathered in.
Okay.
But since then, about 80% of the toilets that we run into are already the new low-flow fixtures. But we still find where we can still garner savings out of them because many of them don't flow at the rated flow that they're supposed to be flowing at. Many of them do not. And sometimes through the application, recently, we had a project,
Okay.
this is a good example, where we had 6,000 toilets and it was in a more of an apartment setting, so it was, you know, a large setting of high rises. And they had already gone out and put on all low flow toilets. We actually looked at how those worked.
Okay.
And in this case, we actually added an extra gallon to the flow. And in doing
And still saved them water.
well, when we looked at the meter and how less it spun for a whole year, we saved nearly $1 million on 6,000
Wow.
toilets.
That's incredible.
Many millions of gallons.
So in most cases, you can go in and you can not only be proactive with environmental concerns, but you can also help somebody with their bottom line.
Absolutely. And most of the time, we're taking higher flows and bringing it lower, you know. And you know, I've kind of talked more about toilets because that's where most people's concerns are. You know, but we also save in sinks and showers domestically, you know, as well as some of the other non-domestic
So, and
flows.
people can call your company and have you come in and take a look at their business then if they want to.
Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
as long as we get some information from them as far as how many people are there, because people's the ones
Sure.
who use water, so that demographic's important, and then getting the water bills, we can put together a program and show them what they can save. We can put a pro forma together and say this will be the cost, this will be the savings. And we even have contracts with customers where we actually put the product in and then they pay us each month or whenever their water bill comes in, the savings on the water bill.
Wow.
So
that's
that
incredible.
way it's budget neutral for them.
Yeah.
They don't have to have an investment in there. And basically they're paying us instead of their water bill, and as soon as they've paid off that investment, usually, you know, 2-3 years or whatever, then they get all the savings themselves.
Now, I want to go back to one of the first things that I brought up here, and that dealt with White Bear Lake before we end our interview. And I mentioned that White Bear Lake, I think, was down about 4 billion gallons. I mean, that's a lot of water. Over the time period that your company has been in existence, can you give me a rough estimate about how much water you've actually saved customers around the area?
Yes, we can, because we do track every job. We want to make sure that
Okay.
we are honoring our promises. So we do those measurements.
Okay.
And in domestic systems alone, just the toilets, sinks, and showers that we were able to retrofit for our customers in 2012, we saved over 8 billion gallons.
Twice the water that you need for White Bear Lake.
Yes.
You saved.
Yes. And that equates to about $52 million in savings for our customers off their utility bills.
Wow.
So, you know, that's what we saved in 2012.
In 2012, that's what you said.
That's what we saved in 2012.
Well, that seems to be a good answer to some of the difficulties and challenges that we have facing our community. So why don't you give people your email address and your phone number for your company if they want to get a hold of somebody from HydraMetrics.
Sure, and you can get a hold of me through my email address at p.roberts, R-O-B-E-R-T-S, at HydraMetrics.com. And HydraMetrics is spelled H-Y-D-R-A-M-E-T-R-I-C-S. And our phone number is 651-653-6845.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your interview, and it was a good experience to hear what your company is doing in the community and how you are part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Tom.
You've been watching Your Business Matters. For more information on this program or the White Bear Area Chamber, visit www.whitebearchamber.com or call 651-429-8593.